Now, just briefly, I received a few questions from the public, which I just want to go through exactly.
Yes.
Now, the first question, the first two has to do with Tunisia.
Tunisia, yes.
And this particular question says, what is the Gambia government doing to address the distressing situation of Gambian migrants in Tunisia? Currently, we have Gambians lingering in jail, according to this question. Now, the same question follows to say, just last year, between January and December, more than 2,000 Gambians died in Tunisia. What is the government doing to ensure accountability for these migrants? Now, first off, these statistics are way too much in my view. 2,000 Gambians in 1 year, that is a crisis situation. We don't have these statistics as a government. I don't know who sent this and where the statistics are from, but if this is the case, then this is a crisis situation. You cannot get 2,000 of your citizens dying in 1 year. That's not a normal situation. I have engaged the Ministry of Foreign Affairs this morning. They are looking into the matter. But also, the question, what is the government doing about those who are languishing in jail? Currently, we are working with IOM. Every week, we are evacuating Gambians from Tunisia. In fact, I was supposed to get the statistics, but because of time, I couldn't get. But what we can confirm is that government is not sitting idly by. We are taking action. Every week, we are evacuating Gambians. In fact, we've sent 2 missions, diplomatic missions, from our embassy in Morocco to Tunisia, to even register Gambians. The challenge we face is that when they go, they can register 180 Gambians. When it's time for them to be evacuated, only 120 or 100 will appear. So we are working on that. We are evacuating. But also, it's important for citizens to know also they cannot just travel to other people's countries without valid documents. And this applies anywhere. Whether you're going to the US, make sure you follow US laws. Every country has its laws on migration. Yeah. Even in the Gambia here, if we have people who come to this country who are unregulated migrants, the law will have to take its course. So citizens are advised not to go to Tunisia, Mauritania, Angola, US, any country if they don't have the right documents to stay there. And you cannot just go there with no documents, no ID card, no passport. How do we verify, in fact, you are a Gambian in the first place? So they make life also difficult for people. So they need to also understand that they need to take responsibility and not travel to other countries without legitimate documents. So, and then you go there, then you want government now to take action.
These are sovereignty related matters sometimes.
Exactly, and you blame government now. When you are going, government did not know you are going. Then now when you go, you get stuck, you want government to come and evacuate you. So they need to know we are doing our best to evacuate, but citizens also need to take responsibility and not just travel to other people's countries, and make sure when they live in other people's countries, let them make sure that their stay is legitimized. That is important. The second question, it says that in the Mansakunda Ministerial Town Hall last week, Fisheries Minister Musa Drame claimed that his ministry is also responsible for National Assembly matters. But in his deliberations, he never stated anything concerning National Assembly matters. My question is, did the Minister of Fisheries, Water Resources, and the National Assembly matters have any monitoring mechanism on the work and conduct of National Assembly members, especially on the issue of the Constitutional Development Fund? Now, remember, we live in a democracy. Yes. One of the fundamental principles of democracy is the separation of powers, where the legislature is acting independently, the judiciary and the executive, where they check and balance each other so that no one of these organs will abuse power. Now, when we say National Assembly matters, the role of the ministry is not an oversight to the National Assembly. What it does is the relationship between the National Assembly and the executive, that is the ministry's response, to make sure that there is a window of communication and there is a smooth relationship, not oversight or regulation. I think this needs to be very, very, very clear. The final question is that in light of the ongoing impacts of climate change, the agriculture sector continues to experience shocks and conditions that hinder production and productivity. Rightly so. For instance, last year, farmers experienced poor groundnut harvest, affecting their seasonal incomes. This year, concerns are growing over erratic rainfall patterns, which pose further risk to the sector. How does the Ministry of Agriculture view this situation, and are there any response plans in place? Of course, the ministry, and by extension the government, is aware of the impacts of climate change. And what is important is what we call climate change adaptation, erratic rainfalls. What can we do? We have no control over when rains come or when they don't come. What we have control over is how we adapt to this changing circumstance. That is what the government is doing. What we are doing is that we are encouraging a variety of seeds as well. We cannot just rely on one seed like groundnuts. We're also trying to ensure that we have other crops that Gambians can farm.
Diversify the
that is right, what I was looking for, diversification of crops as well. But also let people understand their environment. If before the rains used to come in May and end in August, September, and now we see the rains come deep into the year, come start August, people need to adapt. That is why we provide training, support, capacity building to farmers. We give them new different types of breeds of crops, so they understand their environment, but also they change their farming patterns based on when the rains come and don't come. So we are doing that. The ministry is aware. We do a lot of training, a lot of support to farmers, so they can adapt. Yes, there was a problem last year. Some groundnuts did not come out well. We've done research and found out what was the problem. Sometimes it's the soil. Sometimes that's what they call salt intrusion into the soil. The ministry is doing something to make sure that that does not happen, particularly in the rice field. So these are some of the questions, and I hope I've answered them.
Yes.
Satisfactorily.